Welcome to a new episode of Positive Talk Daily. My name is Mr. Positive. Today we're talking about should you upgrade your iPhone 11 to iOS 26. iOS 26 is the latest software from Apple. And should you upgrade this phone to that software? Or should you hold off? We're going to go over that in other details today on Positive Talk Daily. First off, we're on YouTube at Mr. Positive Live. Click on the bell icon to get notified when we go live and post new videos. The iPhone 11 was released in 2019. Has the A13 Bionic chip with 4 gigabytes of RAM. You do get a little bit more storage if you go with the iPhone 11 Pro Max or Pro Series. You get 1 additional gig of RAM. You can also choose a 64 gig model like this one here as well. They went up to as high as 512 gigabytes of RAM. This is the 128 gig model we have right here with the black color. You do have your normal 12 megapixel cameras on the back. And overall, the iPhone 11 was a really solid phone with a 60 hertz refresh rate. But for back in 2019, 2020, during COVID, it's a pretty good phone. Top selling phone in 2019. Now, this is the last year that this phone will receive any sort of iOS updates. Now, the question is, should you upgrade? A lot of people are stuck on 18. A lot of people haven't. Maybe some people haven't upgraded to iOS 26, and maybe they're just going to stay on iOS 18. Now, honestly, iOS 18 is just as good, if not better, for these older iPhones. Now, Apple will claim that iOS 26 will bring upgrades, new features, security updates, and things like that. But you can still get those security patches with iOS 18. And, I think a lot of people trying to upgrade this older phone, they're going to see some glitches. Now, it still runs just fine. Like, you can open most applications just fine, maybe a little slower than normal. You can open up your photo applications, no issue whatsoever. You get the idea. Everything loads like it's supposed to, It's an iPhone. It's still pretty snappy for a 6-year-old smartphone, nearly 7 years old, with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Apple does a really good job of integrating their software, but I just think that, like the weather app takes a few more minutes than it used to on iOS 18. You'll see some glitches here and there. Nothing's really changed compared to iOS 18. They kind of gave it a shiny finish, basically. They made it look more 3D-ish, sort of glass type, kind of a shiny finish to iOS 26, I should say. iOS 26, they went in and they polished some of the icons. Now, if you have iPhone 12 and up, you will have effects where the little icons actually move when you move your cursor. Now, on iOS, on iPhone 11, they got rid of that because I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just the animations are too fast. Maybe it's just the phone couldn't handle it. They knew it was going to glitch somewhat, so be aware if you have a newer iPhone like a 17, the 16, and the 15, you're not going to see any issues. You won't really see many issues with iPhone 11 as well. Even the iPhone SE second generation is getting the same update. Same chipset as this is the A13 Bionic chip, which is still fairly capable. Geekbench number is around 2,000. Single core right around 1,000. So still better than most entry-level, mid-range, most entry-level phones, Android smartphones, and most Samsung A-series phones. So pretty much on par with those types of devices. Kind of like a mid-range if you were comparing this phone to something on the Android side. Be compatible to something like the Revel 8 we reviewed and some other phones similar to this, the Motorola Moto G Stylus 2025. Now, the problem with the iPhone 11 is most people know it doesn't have 5G connectivity. And that's what kind of hurts this smartphone. You would have to go up to the iPhone 12 to get that. So the good news is if you have an iPhone 12, you will get next year's iOS software update. You won't on this. And I'm surprised they even released it. Now, I noticed some bugs immediately. It's a little bit more glitchier and stuff. You will see that with the 4 gigabytes of RAM. There are some things I like about it. They've actually made it so that it seems like the screen is brighter and stuff like that. But you will see a hiccup here and there. The camera takes a few more seconds to open up. They changed the camera settings around that made them look a little bolder, the fonts and stuff, and just basically the whole iOS 18 just got polished, basically. And I think if you're coming from iOS 18, stay on 18. I don't think this is a big enough upgrade where maybe you want this phone to fit in with other people that have newer iOS devices. Because from far away, you could think I'm just using the 16e or iPhone 11, iPhone 12 or something like that. But no, this is a standard iPhone 11. And overall, it runs fine. Like, I've had no issues. Applications like Facebook load no issue. Like I said, we already showed you Facebook loads. It takes a little bit, but it does load. You just got to be aware when you're doing these types of devices, when you're upgrading a phone like an iPhone 11, it is going to be fairly old. And you're talking 6 years old. You're talking an 813 Bionic chip, which is still decent in some cases. You can still light game with this phone, stereo speakers and everything, wireless charging. Nothing wrong with the iPhone 11. It was a good phone from 2019. And if you're using this as a budget phone and find it online like eBay and stuff, it's a good deal. Now, the question is, what are the upgrades you're getting if you update a 6-year-old iPhone to iOS 26, which should have been iOS 19, aka iOS 19, iOS 26. The stupidest thing I've seen Apple ever do is change the name. What was wrong with calling it iOS 19? They always do this. They did this with iPhone. They went from an iPhone 8 to the iPhone 10. No offense, just stupid name changes and stuff like that. I don't hate Apple by any means. I obviously own multiple iPhones. I have an iPhone 16 Pro Max and a bunch of iPhones, basically. But the point is, with these types of devices, especially if it's 6 years old, we start seeing glitches. We did see that when Apple tried to upgrade the iPhone 8 a few years ago, and that's when the last update was for the iPhone 8. This is going to have the same issue. 10s Max last year had the iOS 18 update, and that was it. Those phones should start running like crap. Now, Apple does a good job, but a lot of times Apple's been known, kind of like Samsung, to slow down phones purposely. So you'll go out, purchase new phones, and purchase their new hardware, which is kind of a scam in a lot of ways. Here's what I think about upgrading this phone. I would pass on doing it. Yes, you are going to get some upgrades. You should upgrade iOS 26 if you want security patches, but you will get 2 more years of security updates, Apple states. So that's good. You're just not going to have software updates. On the iPhone 11 for security and new features, but you should be aware that potential performance issues like slowdowns, battery drain, which we've seen people review on YouTube. The decision is up to you if you want to upgrade. You will still get security updates with iOS 18 if you choose to stick with the last beta for iOS 18. Now, right now, a lot of people are on iOS. There have been some upgrades. There have been some changes to this. So iOS 26 is running a little bit better now on the older iPhones. Before, it was glitching even on the newer ones. So now we're seeing a little bit better performance on these older iPhones since Beta 4 came out. So it's up to you, really, if you want to upgrade. If you need the latest security updates, new features, upgrading logistics. However, the iPhone 11 is still running fine with iOS 18, and we'll still get, like I said, they'll still get the updates to iOS 26.1. Now, you won't get, if they do come out with an iOS 27 next year, this phone will not get that. It's because of 4 gigs of RAM. Now, a lot of people are asking questions like, well, Mr. Positive, will the iPhone 11 get any of the, like the Apple Intelligence? No. And neither will the iPhone 11. Neither will the iPhone 13, the 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 will still stay without basically the Apple Intelligence software. Now, here's reasons you should upgrade. Again, security updates will be faster on iOS 26. The security patches on devices are more upgradable. You may have to wait longer with iOS 18. New features, iOS 26 includes new features like liquid glass architecture and other UI changes, which I think slow the phone down. Adding more animations to a phone that is already lagging is not a good idea. And maybe why it's lagging is most people today are used to using faster refresh rates. Even back in 2020 and 2019, phones like the One Plus series were putting 120 hertz refresh rates. It took Apple till this year to add 120 hertz refresh rate onto their lowest end iPhones. So that tells you they're finally catching up. Now their Pro models started getting it during iPhone 13 Pro series. Your app compatibility, as new apps are developed, they will start to potentially run out. So system updates, it's good to keep the iPhone 11 updated to iOS 26 because apps are getting bigger and updates are being more frequent. So as your phone starts to get behind, you will see the updates for like Facebook and stuff may not be compatible with your device. We have seen that with older iPhones. You may see performance improvements. They say that while some users report performance issues, others have seen smoother performance, bringing better multitasking to iPhones. Reasons not to upgrade, and this is what I think you should do. If you do have an iPhone 11 and this is your main driver, look at having the battery improved, have the battery changed out. I think after 90%, you should look to have, if you get down to the 80%, you should start having the phone battery changed out, because after 2 years, get down around 88%, battery life starts to really struggle. And I've heard with iOS 26, battery life has been horrible for most people. Potential performance issues. Most people have seen potential performance issues, especially on the first few beta releases of iOS 26 for iPhone 11 and 12. The iPhone 11's older hardware may struggle with demands of iOS 26. That's why they had to take some of the animations away. If you have a newer iPhone, you may notice that the icons around will actually have a shine around them, a little animation, and around the icons. Not with this. If you move your phone, it will follow that animation. Not on iPhone 11, because it's just not powerful enough. I think it could have handled it, but it would have glitched, lagged, things like that. You may see some lag, choppiness, and the animations. Battery drain. New operating systems can temporarily cause increased battery drain, which most people have reported. This has not been a good update. So if you want to have better battery life, I would say stay on iOS 18. There have been reports of iOS 18 being better for older iPhones on battery. Again, Apple does this on purpose to make you go out and purchase the new iPhone 17 series or a 16 to get you to buy a new phone. It's done on purpose, trust me. New operating systems can temporarily cause increased battery drain as the phone's reindex files and optimization performance start to decrease over time. That's just because the phone's getting older. Compatibility issues with older hardware. The iPhone 11 may not be compatible with some of the newest demanding features of iOS 26. So, iPhone 11 is missing a lot of stuff. Satellite calling, SOS stuff. They're also missing things like 5G compatibility. So it's just not a good thing. Now, there's been reports of issues with iOS 26 on the iPhone 12 and 13 all the way up to the 14. So it's not just the iPhone 11, really. Waiting for stability. The Apple recommends waiting for point updates such as iOS 26.1 to be released before updating to the thing so they can take care of the bugs and fix it. For now, stick to iOS 18. The iPhone 11 is still a very capable phone. Good cameras, decent performance overall, just for everyday usage. If this is a phone you give into your kids and stuff. I think the iPhone 11 is just fine in 2025. I don't have a problem with it, even though most phones today are more 5G connectivity. But this is okay. It still has more raw power than most of your mid-range smartphones and your lower-end entry-level smartphones. For Mr. Positive Live, I'm Mr. Positive. Stay away from iOS 26 for the iPhone 11. Now, a lot of people may dislike this video, but it's true. iPhone 11 should stay on Beta 18.